So Genshin's latest livestream really did stir up kind of a pot in the community, and it seems to have divided people a lot more than even I expected it to be honest. There was a lot of good and a few bits of bad, to be honest, in this livestream, but usually the overarching community absolutely adores these like 0.0 patches more than anything else. But I think a lot of the quality of life stuff really did turn a lot of people away. So there's a video that I want to watch today called Why Genshin's Biggest Update Ever Caused So Much Drama. I have a feeling this is just going to go over all of the details down here, the bad parts, the good parts, generosity. But let's take a look at this and watch it together. And I'll give my own thoughts as we go along, of course, as I always do. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments as well.
Every long-running live service game eventually reaches a crossroads.
Oh, I forgot to mention, it's also Genshin's biggest hater.
A point usually a few years in where it must do more than just simply add content. It has to reinvent itself to fight off stagnation and convince its oldest players that the journey is still worth taking.
True, especially with 6.0 or Luna 1 as it's actually called, right? Because a lot of players did leave, whether people like it or not, during the Natlan patches. A lot of people just didn't vibe with the nation for whatever reason, so this is definitely a way to bring a lot of old players back, especially tying up the loose ends with all of the different factions and bringing all these old known characters into the main storyline. Valka, Alice, even Nicole and people like that. So
Genshin Impact, that moment arrived with its 5th anniversary and the live stream for version 6.0. The presentation was arguably the most significant in the game's history. And
I think the presentation of this whole update was spectacular, honestly.
When it was over, the community was left completely and perfectly divided. On one side, you had an explosion of hype.
Oh, at least on the trailer side. That's what I meant by presentation, I guess.
Players and creators were calling it the best update ever. An unbelievable package of free rewards, game-changing.
Here's the thing as well, dude. I do actually think this is the crazy thing. This is the crazy thing. Because as bad as some of the changes are, I still think this is Genshin's biggest update ever, like the best update ever. We've had good updates in the past, but I think with all things considered, with the UGC and the main story and stuff, and a lot of people might say it's not exactly a high bar because of the quality of life before, and sure, it might not be. I think this is probably Genshin's best update ever. It just could have been a lot better.
New features and fixes to problems that have existed for years. On the other though, there was a deep-seated anger, a narrative that this was the greediest, most disrespectful push for monetization the game had ever seen. But
in terms of the monetization and the greed side of it, I also agree with that. Both can be true at the same time, right? Yes, it's probably Genshin's best update ever for the majority of things, and at the same time, they hit us with some really bad stuff.
When you actually listen to their points, they're not that far off either. So now it is important to state upfront that while the criticism has been loud, it doesn't mean the entire update was a failure. The goal here
100% agree
is to be as fair as possible, looking at both the genuinely good and deeply questionable parts of this announcement. It is rare for a reception to be this polarized. Usually there's a general consensus with some minor disagreements.
Exactly what I said earlier.
This was different. A fundamental split in how two halves of the same community saw the future of the game. So today we're going to dissect this update. We will look at the generosity, the controversial fine print, and the conflicting messages that complicated everything. We're going
the conflicting messages is going to be a big part here, like the whole Hoyo doesn't want to make money section, right? I think what happened there, if I can be completely and utterly honest, is obviously there's different markets for this game. There's the CN community, the global community, the Western community, there's everything. And I think a lot of people say, ironically, Hoyoverse doesn't want to make money because they don't do things like give a lot of skins or traveler skins or, you know, things like that. Which I think they might have just taken the wrong way and seen it as oh my god, this company's so generous, they clearly don't want to make money, which is not what most people, I would say, are saying that for. It's for a very different reason.
To try and understand how a single update can be seen as both a landmark achievement and a profound misstep at the same time.
By the way, I love the arcade style animation. I saw a lot of people hating on it, saying not everything needs to be arcadified. Bro, I thought it was sick. Deadass.
Starting with the part everyone seemed to agree on, the calculated overture of Goodwill that kicked the whole thing paying off. For years, the Genshin anniversary has been a running joke. Players expected disappointment, and they were rarely disappointed in that expectation. Version 6.0 was a stark, intentional break from that tradition, I feel like, because this felt less like a gift and more like a direct response to years of player feedback, even though not all of that feedback is being addressed. But you know what? A win is a win. You know what I'm saying?
It is, and I feel like we haven't gotten all of the anniversary stuff yet. Like, a lot of the things in this livestream people thought were anniversary gifts, like the constellation stuff. It wasn't. That's just the quality of life. I think the anniversary stuff was the 23 polls. Maybe that even was just 6.0. I think we're obviously going to get more anniversary stuff when this next anniversary video that they said is going to drop, which I think was towards the end of this month.
Dissecting the package they offered, each piece was clearly aimed at a very specific type of player. First, you have the universal appeal, 10 intertwined fates and 1600 primo gems. This is the baseline, the standard offering they have struggled to meet in the past. And this time it was the appetizer, and then they targeted mid-game players with free 5-star selector from the standard banner.
Yeah, we knew that was coming because last year they said they were always going to get that. I guess that was the anniversary reward. True. Yeah, that is part of the anniversary reward.
This is an incredibly smart move for the players who has been stuck for 2 years without a Mona for their Morgana team maybe, or a Jean for their Sunfire team maybe. This is a game changer.
Or a Diluc for the base people.
It solves a specific long-standing problem for a huge portion of the player base and generates a massive amount of goodwill in return. And I think a free 5-star is always just nice. Next, they went after the veterans, the most loyal and likely most fatigued players. They did this with a new long-term event that promises up to 4 5-star constellations per year. This is a powerful retention tool. It is a slow drip of guaranteed progression for your oldest accounts.
It is. I personally, I wish they didn't limit it to certain characters and limit it to only 1 per character when you can get 4 per year.
Giving them a concrete reason to keep logging in week after week. And finally, you can get the free 4-star. I know, this one is less a gift than a strategic necessity. You can't introduce a brand new combat system, these lunar reactions, and then ask people to pay to access it.
This should have been in the bad part because I'm pretty certain I know cannot trigger those reactions since she uses a vision and not a moon wheel. I don't think this is a good part. This felt like a big miss to me personally. I felt like Ino was put in here, and if she'd have had a moon wheel, it would have made a lot more sense if she could actually trigger these lunar reactions.
Ino way is the cost of doing business. It's a free sample to ensure.
Maybe I'm wrong about that, and maybe this is a good part, but so far it doesn't look like that.
Every player gets a taste of the new meta, which of course is designed to make you want the 5-star characters who can use it to its full potential. And maybe you could also get the best in slot support. The Goodwill tour extended beyond free items, also targeting the game's biggest friction points, the small daily annoyances that led to player burnout. These are the quality of life updates. The most significant is the change to the artifact system. You know what, you can get an artifact with 3 good substats, and then you pour your resources on it. You pray the 4th hidden stat isn't some flat defense or flat attack. Now they just tell you what it is.
Overall this is just a great change, to be honest. There's nothing bad about this. I was greedy, admittedly, and I said, why not just give us the 4th substat? That would be better for the consumer, for the players. It just would be. There's no arguing that. But this is still just a net positive.
Forehand. This is a direct attack on one of the game's most frustrating and resource-draining RNG mechanics. It is a huge relief. They also overhauled the resin system. Condensed resin will now cost 60 and yield triple rewards.
Yeah, this is a great change.
And you can spend 40 resin directly in a domain without crafting. It doesn't give you more energy, but it makes the daily grind significantly faster. It respects your time. I think this is great. Personally, I've been asking for this for a really long time, but the biggest promise for the game's long-term health, and perhaps the single largest driver of the hype, was the announcement of a brand new permanent game mode.
This looks absolutely incredible. I'm not kidding. I am so excited for the UGC, dude.
Millastra Wonderland. This is a full-blown user-generated content, or UGC platform. So think of it like an in-game version of Roblox, where players get a powerful creative toolset to build and share their own mini-games. The live stream showed off everything from top-down shooters to racing games and puzzle platformers
to MOBA.
For a community that has long complained about lack of repeatable endgame content, this was a massive reveal.
This is the best thing in the entire live stream, in my opinion.
It was presented as Hoyo versus ultimate answer to the endgame problem.
This specifically just looks so cool, dude. I'm so excited for fucking Genshin MOBA. It looks insane.
A potential potential source of near infinite content, all driven by the community itself. Although, I would like to say, this game mode does not have to be in Genshin. It should have been a completely different, separate game, you know what I'm saying? And it would be so much more successful, in my opinion, because it's not...
I mean, probably would have been more successful, yes, but I think they're putting it in the game so it drives up Genshin's player numbers specifically. That it just makes sense.
Not only attracts Genshin players, but also people outside of Genshin, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, that's just what I think. But with all of that on the table, a free 5-star, free constellations, fixes to the game's most deeply ingrained frustrations, and the promise of infinite content through a new UGC mode, community goodwill was at an all-time high. Content creators were calling it the best update ever. It was by all accounts a perfect presentation. And for a moment, it seemed like there was no catch. But then...
It really did, dude. It really did feel like there was no catch up until the quality of life section.
You remember that this is Hoyoverse and everything has a catch. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it. Level 100. Jesus.
They announced the level 100 character cap. On the surface, this sounds like a standard feature for a long-running RPG, a new tier of power to work towards. But the discussion got very quiet very quickly when they explained how you actually do it. To ascend a character from 90 to 100, you need a brand new, very rare material.
Yeah, character levels should just never be locked behind, like, quote-unquote pay-to-win mechanics or even summoning mechanics, in my opinion. The character levels are ingrained into the game. It's one of the first things you get on your account. It's the first like level of progression you actually feel like it should have been by, like, I don't know, the end of the Nordcry quest. Maybe you unlock the powers of the moon, which excels all of your character's growth because there's a new moon phase or something, so everybody can just level up higher. Locking it behind constellations or excess constellations just doesn't really make sense.
Called Masterless Stella Fortuna. How do you get it? It's pretty simple. All you have to do is pull another copy of a 5-star character that you already have at Constellation 6. In case I wasn't saying that loud enough, let me repeat that so we're all on the same page, you know what I'm saying? Constellation 6 is the maximum for characters' abilities, which you can get by pulling 7 total copies. To get this new material, you need to pull an...
Free-to-players can get it. It's just going to take a long time and a lot of luck or unluck, right? Like, or bad luck, I guess. This is definitely more catered to the spenders of the game.
8th copy, or a 9th, or a 10th. This is, for all intents and purposes, a C7 requirement.
Yeah, to level up a character to 100, one character, you would need to get a C10 of a character, realistically, because C7... No, sorry. Yeah. No, you would. 7 copies to get the C6, and then it'd be 8, 9, 10, because you need 3 Masterless to level up to 100.
And that is only to level 95, by the way, because to get it to level 100, you need to pull another one. So it's a C8! As many pointed out, this makes the feature exclusive to 2 types of people, hyper whales and the exceptionally unlucky players who have lost their 50/50s to the same standard banner characters 7 or 8 times. This is where the conversation...
I think I am going to get like 4. Probably, and I've spent a very good amount of money on this game. I think the only extra cons I've got is 1 Dilute con and 2 Chi-Chi cons, maybe 3. That's why I'm like, maybe I'll get 4. It's either 3 or 4 I'm gonna get.
And shifts, because this goes beyond a simple grind or another layer of RNG. It is a fundamental change in the game's entire philosophy of progression. I mean, think about it. Almost any role-playing game, including Genshin up to this point, reaching the maximum level is the universal goal. It might take a long time, it might be a boring grind, but it is achievable for everyone through simply playing the game. The update takes that universal goal and turns it into an exclusive status symbol. It transforms a core part of character progression into a luxury item, locking it behind a spending wall so high that for the vast majority of the player base, level 100 is not a real feature. It is
it doesn't feel attainable to a lot of players. I think that's the biggest problem.
It's purely aspirational. It is like a car company adding a new gear to their standard sedan, but you can only use it if you also own a private jet. It doesn't make sense. And to
I don't know about that. I don't know about cars.
Make it perfectly clear who this system was for, Hoyoverse announced that all past C6 plus duplicates players had ever pulled would be retroactively converted into this new material and sent to their mailbox. This is...
If they weren't, there would have been uproar if this wasn't a retroactive change.
Is the key detail. This wasn't a new long-term goal for the community. It was an immediate reward, a thank you gift sent directly to the mailboxes of the absolute highest spenders in the game's 5-year history. I wonder how many of them lost a bet to Cheaton, you know what I'm saying? The
Listen, motherfucker. Good one.
Introduction of this system was more of a statement than a feature. A line drawn in the sand. And it immediately forced the entire player base to ask a very simple question. Who is this game actually for? As it turns out, the answer depends entirely on where you were looking. The moment the live stream ended, the community didn't just
I love Glaive, dude.
split. It fractured into completely different conversations happening in parallel. It became a tale of two internets. If your main window to the community was Twitter, the response was overwhelmingly positive. It was a sea of celebratory fan art, high energy clips from the trailer, the screenshots of the live stream of the singer Aurora, the new game mode and everything. They were happy. The narrative was simple. This was the best update ever. And the developers were being incredibly generous. For them, at least, it was generous. The hype was the signal and everything is just noise. But if you clicked over to a platform like, I don't know, Reddit, you would have thought...
Even YouTube, dude, I don't know. I like to try and see both sides as directly as possible now because, yes, the live stream was very, very good, but it was also very, very tone deaf at the same time. Both can be true, and I like to believe that, and I like to believe that both can be called what they are without fear of backlash nowadays, which is pretty much what I'm going for here, you know?
You were watching a different live stream entirely. Because there, the conversation was immediately deep analytical and in many places, deeply critical. The front-loaded hype of the free rewards was quickly brushed aside to focus on the long-term implications of the new systems. They were already debating the statistical impact of the C7 requirement, calculating the future power creep this would inevitably introduce. And
possibly, I really do like to think they would not balance endgame content around level 100 characters. God, I hope.
Picking apart the fine print of the free constellation system, they noted that the pool of available characters seemed carefully curated to exclude powerful game-changing early constellations.
Yep, even like Kazu and stuff, bro. Like, even though there was characters like Baiju there, they purposefully didn't put Archons and Kazu and stuff, which just felt like a big miss. That felt bad.
From characters like Kazuha, Yelan, or Raiden Shogun. Instead, the options were largely limited to units whose first or second constellations offer more...
Oh, I guess Nahida is... Wait, I'm confused. Wait a minute. Am I crazy, dude? Am I crazy? Yelan... Or is this... wait, I'm very confused. Yelan is here. Nahida's here. Raiden's here. Are they there in the actual image?
Martians were large characters like Kazuha to exclude powerful game-changing early constellations from characters like Kazuha, Yelan, or Raiden Shogun. Instead, the options were largely limited to units whose...
Hold on, I gotta check this. Okay, so that was some absolute bullshit, I guess. Oh, I didn't see. This is fucking Gacha Sentel, dude. This is literally the most, like, misinformation account there is, but it's mostly a joke, Jesus.
Whose first or second constellations offer more marginal benefits, making the quote-unquote gift feel less impactful.
Glaive, Glaive should have known that.
Than it appeared on the surface. It was a conversation focused on the systems beneath the spectacle. This divide, however, went deeper than social media platforms. There was a significant cultural rift in how the level 100 system itself was perceived. In the West, the dominant perspective among vocal players was that this was predatory, greedy move. It was seen as locking a core part of the game behind an insurmountable paywall, a fundamental disrespect to the time and money of anyone who isn't a high roller. However, reports from players observing the Chinese and Japanese communities painted a very different picture. The sentiment there was said to be much more positive. The system was viewed as a win more feature, a bonus. It was seen as...
Yeah, I think that's just a difference in how gacha is perceived in the West compared to other areas of the world.
As a reward for people who have already spent a lot of money, and something that doesn't really affect the average free-to-play experience, since the current content isn't balanced around needing level 100 characters anyway. This is the crucial part. These two reactions aren't a contradiction.
It was the same thing with Stygian though, and now this, and then what's next, you know, like this is where a lot of people are getting rightfully kind of worried, I think.
They are the intended result of a sophisticated strategy that is basically like creating and selling different products to different groups of people, all at the same time. In this single update, Hoyoverse offered two distinct value propositions. For the 99%, the massive free-to-play and low-spending majority, they offered the anniversary gifts and the quality of life fixes, an incredible deal. For the 1%, 1%, the absolute top tier spenders, they offered a brand new exclusive.
I still, by the way, the thing, I forgot something in my video yesterday. One of the biggest things that really does rub me the wrong way is, and I say this time and time again, and I think people are starting to understand this, whenever there is really good quality of life added, the mark is always missed, or there is always a catch for the majority of times. The no daily restrictions on domains being only for the first week of the patch or the first week of the banners is a prime example of that. And I feel like even for the 99%, even for the low spenders and the free to play, that should be something that people just aren't happy with, because they've heard the feedback, they've heard what people want, and they've partially implemented it, still with guidelines that for some reason suit them. I don't really know why they can't just do it permanently like in most other games nowadays. It's just such an old mechanic that shouldn't exist at this point in the game, with so much stuff to do and so many characters to farm for.
Long-term spending goal. The problem is that both products, meant for entirely different audiences, were announced in the same breath, forcing the entire community to confront the game's dual identity. This growing sense of a dual identity was made even worse by the developers' own conflicting messages. During the live stream, there was a perceived sense of humility, with comments acknowledging that the team felt they could have done better. And for a moment, it created a feeling of partnership with the community, right? Oh my god, they could have done better, how humble. But that feeling was completely shattered by other statements, most notably the phrase, Genshin Impact doesn't want to make money. Huh? What?
I spoke about this earlier, so I'm not going to drive home too deep on this, but I really do feel like this was just a terrible miscommunication or misunderstanding of communication.
Genshin Impact does not want to make money? God damn! Genshin, you innovate in the worst way possible. You innovate in ways unimaginable. Not in the way the players want, but in the...
This, by the way, is why people think Glaive just hates Genshin Impact. He doesn't, dude. He enjoys the game. He likes the story. He wants it to be better, and I feel like I'm in the same boat, but it's the way that he portrays his feelings about it that people just can't they can't correlate that with actually caring. They just think it's hater mentality, which honestly, I understand it to a certain extent. There's other people in even Tecton was like that, right? But at the end of the day, people want to enjoy their favorite games, bro. If people have spent time and money on these games, they want them to improve and do better. So when things like this happen, it kind of does... I think the reason why things are portrayed in this way is because it really does feel like a kick in the teeth sometimes.
Way that makes you more money. How dare you say that? And deservedly so. This was widely ridiculed online. To make a claim like that in the same presentation where you announced the C7 gated level 100 system created a massive credibility gap. It felt less like a genuine statement and more like a blatant corporate spin, and it made players question the sincerity behind all the gifts and the quality of life updates. And this created an atmosphere of deep distrust, where even the positive features were put under a microscope. On Reddit, for example, the new NPC immersion feature was immediately met with suspicion. Players theorized it could be a subtle form of gatekeeping, a way to pressure people into pulling for every new character just to experience unique dialogue. What was presented as a charming new feature was seen by a jaded community as a potential new monetization angle. This feeling was compounded by what wasn't addressed, or was only addressed with half measures. For instance, they announced that the talent domains would be open every day for characters on the event banner. Wow! But this only lasts for 1 week!
This just frustrated me to no end. I'm not gonna cap, bro. It might be people might think it's an overreaction to it, or a caring too much. I don't care. It's everything combining over the years, adding up, and then feeling heard finally, and then it's like they listen but don't hear, you know?
Existence of this feature proved that the
hear but don't listen.
Developers could have removed the frustrating daily rotation permanently for everyone, but they actively chose not to. It fostered a narrative that they were only willing to fix surface level friction with temporary solutions, while core frustrations like the complete lack of dialogue skip function remained untouched. This created a profound sense of dissonance when they also announced their goal for the game to last another 10 years and even 20 years, asking for a long-term faith from the community. They were actively giving reasons to distrust them. But you know, but anyways, where does this all leave us?
I want the story to last another 20 years, bro. I want Genshin Impact 2 Electric Boogaloo, Genshin Impact 3 arrow to the knee. I want it all.
The key to understanding version 6.0 is realizing that it isn't one thing. It is not simply good or bad. It is simultaneously the most insane best ever update Genshin Impact has ever had, and also the one that introduced its most—
I'm glad he said this, dude, because it's true. It is. It is both.
Exclusive and predatory monetization mechanic. It is an update that successfully addresses years of complaints about the daily grind and the lackluster rewards, while at the same time making a much higher wall between the game's highest spenders and everyone else. It is important to understand that this isn't a contradiction. It is a business model. Hoyoverse isn't trying to save a failing game. They are restructuring a massively successful one for a long-term viability. They are doing this by creating two distinct parallel experiences. For the vast majority of the player base, the game is becoming a more rewarding and accessible journey. For that—
And it's like, just because the actual gameplay isn't going to change that much with level 100, right? The actual account, again, I think it's more about the precedent it sets and the way that players feel appreciated. And albeit there's a few free-to-play players that are like, yeah, sure, let the whales have this. It's not the grand consensus. It is creating a divide between free-to-play and whales that didn't— I mean, listen, the divide has always existed, right? There was always free-to-play supremacy, and I feel like now there's going to be freaking whale supremacy. There's always going to be a divide there, but this is just exasperating that divide even more than necessary.
Top percentile of players, it is becoming a new, nearly limitless spending path with an exclusive prize at the end. This update absolutely lays the groundwork for the next several years of content. The soft reboot of exploration and not cry, the potential of the user-generated content mode, these are huge foundational changes that will keep the game relevant. However, the central conflict, the one between its welcoming free-to-play friendly gestures and its incredibly exclusive whale-focused systems, is now a permanent baked-in feature of the game's identity. But I am curious to hear where you land on this. Let me know your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, and that is all from me, Glaive Gear, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.
Pretty much the same, to be honest. The only thing that I really differ with is the Ino stuff, because I don't think she's going to be a catalyst to be able to use the new region-specific things. And obviously with the Master List Stellar Fortuna, I don't know if he realized that. I mean, he didn't realize it cost 2, but like he kept saying like C7. You need C9 to get to level 100, which is absolutely crazy. But overall, a good video. I wish people had stopped putting him in this bracket of everything he says is incorrect just because people perceive him as this Hoyo hater, when in this video he literally just spoke the facts of the situation with maybe a little bit of distrust or distaste. But I think it's very understandable to feel that way after playing the game for so long and seeing everything unfold over the years, right? I think it does make sense. Overall, I'm super excited for Nod Cry and Luna 1. Again, I'm mainly a story player, and I don't spend money on the game anymore. I haven't spent money in a long time, so yeah, I'm excited, bro.